Hello, I'm Double Moses, and today I'm in my new single-player world where I've been testing a much improved and upgraded version of the iron farm that I showed in the previous video. So while that tripwire farm was incredibly efficient, it did not like being unloaded and reloaded, and resetting it was a real pain. So since then, I've been working on upgrading it to this daylight sensor version, and I've been testing it in this world for about a week and I haven't had any issues. I've managed to keep the high efficiency of the farm, so you'll still get over 400 iron per hour per cell, but as far as I can tell it's now completely reliable, so once it's built you should never need to touch it again. Today I'll be doing a tutorial on the single cell version, which is this one here, but in the world download I will also have an expanded version of this which will get you about 1600 iron per hour. I'll have a timestamp in the description if you just want to jump straight to the tutorial, and right at the end of the video I'll also have a quick upgrade guide, so if you have the Tripwire version already, it'll only take you 2 or 3 minutes to upgrade it to this more reliable version here. Here in my test world you can see a much cleaner version of this farm, as well as a few different designs in the background. The way this works is we power and depower these rails at specific times of the day, which triggers these observers, which hides the zombie, which gives the villagers the opportunity to work or sleep, depending on what time of day it is. And the way we control those rails is through this daylight sensor. So that'll run power up through the middle here. And this block is what controls the villagers' working cycle. So in the middle of the day, when the power level of that reaches 15, this part here will let that through and light up the rails, and that gives the villagers their first work opportunity. A few minutes later, when the sunlight starts to drop, this will depower and give the villagers their second work opportunity. That seems to be the key to getting this farm to work, because I believe it's a bug, but if you let the villagers only work once per day, the farm breaks pretty quickly. This redstone torch here is what controls the sleep cycle. It's a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, but I made an effort to make this farm a bit more survival and server friendly. So if we set the time to 12,000, very soon these villagers will sleep. Just wait a second, there we go. As you can see, it's not even dark yet, so what that means is you don't really have to worry too much about other people sleeping and causing your villagers to miss their sleep cycle. Now if we set the weather to thunder, so during bad weather conditions the daylight sensor will actually output a lower power level, which means that never reaches power level 15 and the villagers will never work. So to combat that, I've installed this inverted daylight sensor, and this side adjusts the light level required for the villagers to work, and this side adjusts the light level required for the villagers to sleep. So that'll keep them working and sleeping at the correct times, and will keep the iron farm running even during bad weather. This is an expanded version of the farm using 4 villager cells. It looks pretty different at first, but when you look closer, it is essentially the same thing. The zombie cell and the redstone controlling it is exactly the same. We're just using a pillager instead of a zombie, because his scare radius is a bit larger. That lets us put the villagers further away, which is important in keeping these cells independent. The villager cells are exactly the same as well, the main difference being that the spawning platform, instead of being above, I've pulled behind them. The reason I did that was so that any golems spawning here cannot be seen by any of the other villagers, because they will periodically check around them to see if there's any golems in range, and if they find any, it's going to mess with their timers and slow down their spawn rates. By spreading it out like this, we aren't losing any efficiency, so each of these cells will be putting out 1400 iron per hour, 400 iron per hour rather, giving the farm a total of 1600 iron per hour. Just keep in mind this farm is directional if you're going to build it. That's north. Depending on which direction you look in, the distances between the cells and the spawning platforms are slightly different. Okay, so let's start the tutorial. So everything you see in my inventory should be what you need to build the farm. These building blocks here, they're just not an exact number, just a general guide here. These 2 lapis blocks, they can be any block. I just use lapis to identify blocks that are powered so that I know they aren't junk blocks and can be destroyed. This food here is just to fill the composter because we do need to get that to a specific power level. These diamond chest plates, they can be any non-stackable item, so I would say probably wooden shovels would be the cheapest thing to use, but any non-stackable item will work there. These cobblestone walls, they can be any sort of wall, or you could also use fence gates. Not fence gates, just fences as well. The grindstones, they can be any villager work block. I just use grindstones because they're not a full block. These fence gates, they can also be signs as well. So these signs have to be signs, but in this situation you can use either fence gates or signs. So we'll start at the bottom. Put your chest down there, so that's your output. Then feed 3 hoppers into the back of it. Then on each side, feed 3 hoppers feeding to those. And on this side as well. Then on top of those, put bottom slabs. So when you're positioning your farm, this hopper here is the very middle of the farm. And then on each side of this, go up 5 blocks, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So surround this platform with those. Put some glass on top of those so you can still open the chest. And otherwise you can use any solid block or whatever block you like. Once your killing chamber's walled up, come to the side here, this top block, come out 3 more blocks, so 2, 3, 4. Do that on every side. 4. Then square that off and make a platform. Once this platform's done, come out 1 more and build a 2-high wall surrounding it. Once the walls are in place, before we put in the water, we need to put signs around this hole so that the central chamber doesn't get flooded. So put a sign there. And hold down Shift and click on the top of that sign to put another one down. And keep doing that, just placing signs all around the edges. Once your signs are in place, grab your water bucket and place water on the upper block in each corner. And that should create a nice water stream where all the water is going to push the golems into that central chamber. Next, grab a temporary block and place it right in the middle there between the signs. Hold down Shift and go up 14 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'll just get rid of these. So this is where the redstone's going to be. You can either use glass or top slabs here. I just noticed in one of the pre-releases that the more solid blocks were near the villagers when they were panicking, it seemed to increase the pathfinding lag. So I've gotten into the habit of either using glass or slabs as much as possible around them. So to the right, put a slab or glass and just make it a 7 long platform. So come to this middle block and grab your comparators. So 1, 2, 3. Grab your solid blocks. Redstone. So block. Redstone dust. Then 3 more comparators. Then 2 bits of redstone dust there. And on top of this block, place a torch, as well as a sticky piston facing upwards. On this side, place a repeater on 4 ticks, then another repeater on 2 ticks. So just like that. Now out from here, create a little platform for yourself to work on. Now here, so leave 1 gap, place 2 rails, get your observers, there we go. So place those here, so they're facing the rails and firing into the repeaters. Get your solid block, put 1 there, then comparator, block, and comparator. And we want a daylight sensor here. Then go over here and put another comparator. And we want this in subtract mode, so right click it and make sure that front torch is lit up. Get your redstone block and place it up like that. Put another subtract comparator here. Get your dropper and place it there. Then place your 4 unstackable items there. And then we need a redstone torch here. And if you did it correctly, that piston should retract for a few seconds and then pop back up. Next thing we need is to put in the part that deals with bad weather. So put another daylight sensor there, right click it so it goes silver. Put a comparator there, a repeater coming out this way. Grab your sticky piston, put it there so that the repeater's firing into it. Then get your composter, place it there. Then get your food. And so bring up the F3 screen, and on the right you can see targeted block, composter level 0. Right click on it until it says level 2. And just clear out all the unnecessary blocks. Oh, you also need a comparator right there. And that should be the circuit completed. I always forget this part. We have to spawn proof these blocks to stop the golems from spawning on them. So there, these 2 blocks, the dropper, and the 2 observers. Next, we do the zombie and the villager cages. So place a glass block there. So that's the block that the zombie will be standing on. Next, surround that with glass. Then on the side that's facing towards the center of the farm, just place a slab there, and on the other sides place glass. And then once more above the zombie's head, so this will stop it from burning up in the sun, place a slab there. Next, we do the villagers, so place a block there, another one there. So just make a little T shape like that. Get your bed. Place one there, there, and there. Just make sure the pillow part of the bed is the one that's facing this way, because that's the part that the villagers actually care about. Now down here, place a platform. Break those. So that's the actual platform where the villagers will be standing on. Next, take your work block and put them under the beds. So they should be just under the bed heads like that. And now is a good time to put your villagers in. So, make a little platform. Ooh. Also, put some blocks above the beds as well, like that, that, and one above them there. So the villagers will be standing in here. So, bring your villagers in. Make sure they see the blocks. There we go. Easiest way to get them into the chamber is just wait until it's night time. So time set midnight. And they should all get into bed. And once they're in bed, break these blocks, so wall them in like that. Bit hard to see. I'll set it to day, time set day. And once they all wake up, because that's the only valid block for them to stand on, they all jump there, and so they're ready to go. So while we finish building the rest of the farm, they'll do their work and sleep cycles, and once we put the village zombie in, the farm should start immediately. So that's what you should have currently. Next part is the spawning platform. So go directly above the villagers, and then just choose one of the blocks next to it, put a temporary block, grab your slab, and put a top slab so it's directly above the villager. So it should be the villagers, glass block, then top slab. Then the side going towards the redstone, put 3 coming off that, and then 3 the other way. So it should be 7 long. Yep. And then on each side, make it go 2 out and fill out that platform that way. So 2 on this side. Then go to the other side, add on an extra 2 here. So once you're done, you should have a 5x7 platform here. Next, grab your wall, and on the sides that are 5 long, so off to the side, fill that out, then go 2 further. So we go to there, so go to the edge, then do another 2. This can be any type of wall, or it can also be fences as well. Grab your glass block, put it on the end here, like that. So that'll give us a 2 block wide area for the golems to fall down into the water stream there. On this side as well, so glass. And fence or wall. So that's what you should have. Next, just grab a temporary block, so go to the middle here and go 1 to either the left or right. Let's put some temporary blocks. Ooh, actually, not yet. First thing, got to block the water, so you can either use signs like this, so just stick them like that. That's kind of annoying. Or you can also use fence gates, so just create some temporary blocks there. If you use fence gates, make sure the ones up against the wall are sideways, because if you put them this way, you can see it actually creates that bit there, and that has an extra hit box that the golems can get stuck on, so make sure that one is sideways. These ones can be anyway. Just make sure they're open. To the side there. Just break these blocks. Now we put in the water stream, so middle, 1 to the left or right, so temporary blocks there. And temporary blocks here. So we use these just to put the water on, because if we right click on those slabs, it'll actually waterlog it and the water will just go down, so we just go like that. So that should all be water sources now, so you just break this. Now where you get a nice water stream with 2 blocks going that way and 3 blocks pushing the golems that way. And that's pretty much that sorted. All that's left is we put in the lava now, I believe. Yes. So take your signs, go down into the killing chamber here. So I've got half block peeking through there. Where do we want this? We want, so half the block, full block, then there. Put 3 signs on each other. Then on each side go 1 higher. Once again 3 signs. And on this side as well. And then get your lava bucket. And place it on top of that middle sign. Oh, I always forget to hold shift. Lava there. That should flow, and that should kill any golem that falls in here. So that's the farm pretty much done. The only thing left to do is to put the zombie in the cage. I think I forgot to mention, so these rails here, they can be either powered rails or activator rails. It doesn't matter which, just as long as they're both the same type of rail. But yeah, either powered or activator will work. And spawn proofing these blocks just involves either putting down bottom slabs on top of these blocks, or you could also place glass blocks as well. That would stop golem spawning there as well. So to put the zombie in, the easiest way is just create a little rail line out like this. Just put some blocks over so it doesn't die from sunlight. Actually put a redstone block here. Now this way, use an activator rail, so when a minecart goes over an activator rail, if there's a mob in it, it gets kicked out. So we just get some regular rails. And a minecart. Now just make sure there's no other blocks around that the zombie can stand on, because what happens here is when the zombie gets kicked out, it doesn't really want to go onto the rails, so it sees that as the only valid block that's possible. So with the zombie, you're either going to want to name tag it, or if you don't have name tags, you can also find one that can pick up loot. And once it's holding something, it won't despawn. So if I put a minecart there, that didn't work well. Here we go. Yep, so now he's in there, and as soon as he hit the activator rail, he went into the cage. As you can see, we're already spawning golems. So just get rid of all this stuff. Actually, get rid of this as well, because the golem could have spawned on here. And that's the farm done. I'll just run this for an hour, make sure everything's working good. I've just had it running for an hour and I've turned it off, which, by the way, if you ever do need to turn it off, you can just put a lever here and flick it on, and that'll bring the zombie down and golems will stop spawning. But let's check what we've got in the hour. So we've got 6 stacks of 64, which is 384 plus 20, 404. Not too bad, about what I'd expect. And you do get about 100 poppies per hour as well, so you can make a lot of red stuff if you really want to. So that's the farm done there. If you need any clarification on anything, I will have a world download in the description. Now, just a quick note, if you want to build the Big 4 version, I'm not going to do a tutorial on it because I don't want this video to be an hour long. But just keep in mind, this is directional, so while the other farm wasn't, so we're looking in the north direction now, because in the negative directions, the distances between the pillager and the villager, as well as the distance between the villager and the spawning platform, is slightly different than it is in the positive directions. So if you do build it, just make sure, double check the world download to get the exact relative positions. But as you can see, the redstone and the design of the cells is exactly the same as what we made over there. For most of you, this is the end of the video. After this, I'll do a quick guide on how to upgrade the old iron farm design, but I figure most people don't need to see that. I've been pretty blown away by some of the kind comments you guys have left on the videos, and I'd just like to say I'd really appreciate it, and I hope I can keep putting out more interesting stuff for you. Speaking of which, right behind me you can see something that I've just finished building in my single player world to test out. And some of you might recognize what it is, but more on that later. Hang around if you need to see how to update the old iron farm, but otherwise, thank you very much. See you later. This is the world download for the old video. I've just cloned the farm over again and we'll be working on this one, fixing it up. takes literally 2 minutes, and that will basically fix the unloading problem that this had and make it completely reliable. So we just delete all this unnecessary. So just extend this out a bit. So we just need to make this comparator fade out last a bit longer. So 3 there, 3 there. So 6 comparators in the loop. Put your redstone dust there. And we need 2 repeaters, one on 4 ticks, one on 2. Then we need one more there. So put 2 rails down there and get an observer or 2 observers and place them there like that, so they're firing into the repeaters. The rest of the circuit is exactly the same as what I showed in the video, and I'll go into a bit more detail there, but I will just quickly build it up here. So yeah, so get your comparators. Actually, we'll start with the blocks. Need a block. I need to build this out one more. Yeah, so block, yeah. So block, block. Then we go comparator, comparator, comparator there. Right click it so the torch lights up, so it's in subtract mode. This one here is also in subtract mode. Then we have a comparator feeding into the side of that, and a comparator feeding into the side of that. Get your daylight sensors, one there, one there, and then we right click it so it goes silver. In the back of this comparator here, put a redstone block. And coming out of the side of the silver inverted daylight sensor, put a repeater. We get a sticky piston. It's basically so the repeater's firing in the sticky piston. And we get our composter out. That's there. Pull up your F3 screen and right click like carrots or potatoes or something on it until it hits level 2. There we go. And lastly, we get our dropper. Put it there behind that comparator. And we put 4 unstackable items. So it can be any unstackable item. Wooden shovels are probably the cheapest, but yeah, any item that doesn't stack will make it work. And lastly, we need a redstone torch. That goes right there. Then just destroy all the other blocks that are unnecessary. So that should be your circuit there. Just let me double check, everything looks good. Yep, it's everything there. So last thing you need to do, grab some bottom slabs or glass and just place it on top of all of the full blocks so things can't spawn on them. So there and that. And that should be it. So now it's exactly the same output as the upgraded version. Cool. Once again, thank you very much for watching. See you later.